Today, we're going to be talking and testing you a little bit on how well you know your money. I think this is a topic that's really, really important because it took me a long time to take a moment as the CEO and really tap into how I was doing and managing my finances, what that looked like. I think in the beginning, we are so desperate to just bring in revenue that we don't do a good job in ensuring that we are prepared when that revenue starts to come in, and we start shifting some of that focus into ensuring just even a little bit in the beginning, even if you're not super profitable right now, to really ensure you are becoming profitable and what that path looks like. So today we're going to test you a little bit. So there is something that I do all the time, whether it's on discovery calls, we talk about it live, we talk about it in the collective membership, all the things. And we talk, and I ask this question often. I ask the question and I tell you that you need to know this and why you need to know this. So we're going to talk about it today. The two questions I ask is going to be, one, how much does your business bring in on average? Better yet, what is the worst month that you typically have in your business? Knowing what we do in our industry, there are going to be months where we make a lot more money, and there are going to be months where we make less money. And you really need to understand what that looks like on an average basis. But even better, if you can figure out what the worst month is in your business and say, that's how much revenue I bring in my business. Anything on top of that is just going to be extra. And how do you continue to increase your business revenue on an average basis? So you need to know, how much does your business bring in on average? Second question is going to be, how much does your business spend in operating costs on average? Now, operating costs is going to include everything. I mean, all the expenses that you have. How much does your business spend every month on average? Better yet, look at the most expensive month that you have had in the last couple of years when it comes to your spending. Now, maybe there was a month where you invested some money in something big that doesn't happen regularly, but understanding what your business spends on a monthly basis. So you've got two things. You've got your revenue and you have your expenses. Those are things you have to know every single month in order to know how profitable you are, and in order to project and to plan and to have the cash flow and what you need to be able to run a business. Now, once you know that, you know where you're starting from, you can start working to increase that profit margin and to start working towards your goals in an intentional way with some strategy, and then being able to go out and execute on what that looks like. So what this does is it gives you an indication of where you are in profitability while providing a cushion for better months that are coming up or harder months that are coming up. Here are some things that you should know at all times. How much are your operating expenses totaling monthly and then annually? Everything that you have in your business except payroll. Payroll is going to be kind of a separate topic. So everything that your business needs to be able to operate. I'm not talking about the things that are maybe luxury and that you want and that just necessarily make life easier, but what do you absolutely need in order to operate in your business? Every single expense, I don't care if it's a $2 cost app on your phone that you use, I want you to include that, and I want you to know what it is. These are the expenses that are going to keep your business running. The second thing that you need to know at all times is going to be, how much do you spend on payroll monthly? I excluded payroll from the operating expenses. And so now we're going to talk about it because it's the biggest thing we spend our money on. And I like to kind of keep it separate so I can see the two in different ways and the way they interact with bringing in revenue. So how much do you spend on payroll monthly? And then if you really want to be a great CEO as you're diving into this, figure out how profitable each person on your team is to your business. I did a training about how to figure out your team members' profitability for your organization, and I will try to find it and link it in the comments so you can go back in and dive into that a little more. The next thing that you should know at all times is, how much does your marketing cost you? Take all the money that you're spending on your marketing and how long does it take for you to break even on that cost, and what's the return on investment? The next thing you need to know at all times is, what are your closing ratio numbers? What are your sales ratio numbers? And how does that affect your business revenue? Knowing how many leads you need and you work to getting to a sale and how much premium that is really, really important, and all those percentages in between. If you do not know that, you can't work on figuring out where maybe you're dropping the ball, or even with each team member, it might be different, so that you can work on developing them. You're the leader. You get to show up and provide resources for them to get better in those different percentages so that they can close and increase their close ratio. The next thing is, how much revenue have you grown in the last year compared to the previous? You should know these numbers. You should know, I grew my business revenue by $20,000 last year than the year previous. I grew my business by $50,000 in revenue, etc. And is this something that's sustainable? So if you say, first of all, make sure you grew, right? Even by $1, you grew. But if you grew by a certain amount of money, think to yourself, is this sustainable? And how can I use this information to predict year over year growth? A lot of times when I have clients in Agency by Design, the first thing we do is we look at their numbers. We break all their numbers down, and it's great because they can then see a visual of, wow, all this work I did, I thought I wasn't doing so well, but my business actually grew by $50,000 this last year over the year before. And if you can grow $50,000 year after year, if it's sustainable, then you know that in 4 years, you're going to have an extra $200,000 in revenue into your business. Doesn't that make you feel better, being able to project and know if this is all worth it and what that looks like a couple years down the road, being in an industry of residual income, right? So these are the things that you should know at all times, but you need to answer the first 2 questions first, then break down the rest of this. You should be able to make projections for the next year at a minimum, if you can. Some of you have not been in business for more than a year, and so you're not going to have as much data to be able to go back and look. But this is the point that you need to get to as you're working through that first year in business. You should have at least 2 to 5 money goals for your personal and business finances that you're working towards per year. If you have not set at least 3 money goals for 2022, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm telling you right now to go back and decide what those are. Things like how much income and revenue you want to generate, how much debt you want to reduce, how much you want to increase in savings, any investments and money that you want to put and grow those accounts. How do you want to maybe create a budget or managing your money? Or I even like to say, instead of budgeting, which I use the word budget a lot because that's what people understand, but I really truly think that if you take the word budget and you replace it with a goal or a vision or almost another phrase or word to kind of talk about a plan, it's not about budgeting and living in the scarcity mindset. It's just sometimes negative. We want to create a plan so that we achieve the goals that we want. If you're able to stay within this plan for your money, you can then increase your savings more. You can reduce your debt more. You can have more profitability, whether that's in your business or in your personal life. So I wanted to make sure I came on here and really honed in on the fact that you need to know your money. And I just asked you all these questions. If you don't know the answers to them, unfortunately, you failed the test, but guess what? You now have the questions to go back and do some research and find this information. And if you can't find the information, then now is the time for you to start putting in some processes and some routines for you to go back and start tracking all this information so that you can answer these questions for your business moving forward. You have questions or you enjoyed this, please engage. I will be able to come back and comment and talk to you and answer any of your questions. And I love you all to pieces. Thank you so much for joining us on another training.